What is going on, everyone? My name is Andy. Welcome back to another FPL video. In this one, it's some of my early transfer plans ahead of game week 12, and I'm also going to tie it in with when I might free hit. So it's the only chip I've got left, the free hit chip, and it's got to be used by game week 19. I've narrowed it down, I think, to 2 different game weeks, and I'm leaning towards one more than the other. So I'll discuss my thought process and stuff as we go through the video. It's just a one-take thing, so it is a bit rambly, just to warn you right now, but I think it will make sense when you watch it. So let's get into it. So for game week 12, I've got 2 free transfers and 0.3 million in the bank, and I suspect, like a lot of people's teams, it looks pretty good this week because a lot of the players that we've been carrying for a while just have good fixtures. So if you've got Bournemouth players, it's West Ham at home. Most people have got double or triple Arsenal. Spurs at home is nothing to worry about. Joachim Andersen's been on people's benches. He's got Sunderland at home, etc. So it looks pretty good. I am playing a 5-3-2 as it stands, but I do have a couple of transfers to use, like I mentioned. So the actual team is Raya and Gabriel double up on Arsenal defence. Van Dijk against Forest at home. Lacroix against Wolves away. Again, Palace are a team that a lot of people have 2 or 3 players from. Wolves away is a good fixture. Senesi West Ham at home. Anderson Sunderland at home. Midfield 3. Saka, Spurs at home, currently my captain. Bruno Fernandes Everton at home. Semenyo West Ham at home. And then up front it's Mateta Wolves away and Haaland Newcastle away. Just on captaincy, it's a long time until the deadline. So as always, I reserve the right to change my mind. But I do think I'm going to take Haaland on in most of these away games. Will I do it against Fulham away, given how poorly Fulham have started the season? Maybe not. But even in game week 14, there are a couple of nice fixtures for the likes of Saka and Fernandes as well. So I want to take Haaland on where possible because I don't think people will want to do it. And there's not going to be many opportunities. Like 13, 15 and 17, when it's Leeds at home, Sunderland at home, West Ham at home, we're all going to captain Haaland. No one's going to go against him in those weeks. And I suspect that after 17, we'll also captain him quite a lot. So where possible, I do want to go against him. So that's why Saka's got the captain's armband. Technically, I could just roll this week. There's not really any major issues. I mean, arguably, my worst player is Lacroix against Wolves away. Because I would definitely play all my 5 attackers, Saka, Fernandes, Semenyo, Mateta, Haaland over him. And he's probably my worst of the 5 defenders. But Wolves away is not a bad fixture. So he's probably my worst player for game week 12. On the bench, by the way, Dewsbury Hall, Man United away, Guiu, Burnley away, who just doesn't get any minutes, and then Paquetá is suspended. The one move, there's 2 moves that I'm considering. One is Paquetá to Minte, who's 6 million. I've got that 0.3 in the bank. That would make me, I was going to say allow me to bench Lacroix, but I don't really care if I have to play him. So it would make me bench Lacroix, and I would play 4-4-2. The only real advantage to using that transfer this week is just to give me a bit more bench depth in case anything happens. But most of these players I've got, unless they get injured, they're going to start. So there's not really a massive problem there. The other thing that I could do is get a more expensive midfielder by downgrading one of my defenders. So if I do Lacroix down to a 4.5, like Michael Keane, that gives me the money to do Paquetá to someone who's 6.7 million. So Sarr, for example, at Crystal Palace is 6.7 and Szoboszlai is 6.6. They're probably the 2 midfielders that I would look at. Is that worth 2 free transfers? Essentially, I'd be using my only 2 moves to bench Lacroix. It doesn't feel right to do that. And Sarr is someone that I've been worried about the last few weeks not owning, and I continue to be worried about him. But I might free hit 13, which I'll come on to in a second. And okay, Wolves away this week is good, and Burnley away in 14 is good. But then it's Fulham away in 15, Man City at home in 16. And then obviously he's off to African Cup of Nations. So could I get away with it? Maybe. And look, I'm a bit... We're in a period of FPL now where we have to use our transfers because we're all going to get topped up to 5 in game week 16. So you've got to get your you've got to use all your free transfers by game week 15. There's no reason not to use them. So part of me thinks, just be a bit more aggressive now. Because why not? If you get stuck later on, you're going to get those top up to 5 transfers in game week 16. But even then, I still don't think I can bring myself to use 2 moves just to bench Lacroix. It just doesn't feel right. So I think my only move. And by the way, just because I don't use those moves and they start to stack up and I've got to use them later, other opportunities will present themselves. And to be honest, I kind of like the idea of getting to game week 15 with 2 or 3 transfers saved up and then having all the info we're going to get ahead of the 5 top up in game week 16 and then making some decisions. Okay, this is the player that I want long term. I'm going to get them in now. I can take a few punts in game week 15 because I can switch them with the transfers in game week 16, etc. I just think it's easier to do that the more transfers you've got in 15. So as much as I agree with people that we can be more aggressive if you want to, it's not like, I mean, we might get to a situation in game week 14 or 15 where there's nothing to do, but it seems unlikely. There's always something you can do with your team. So right now, as much as other people want to be aggressive, my team looks good. I don't think I can use 2 free transfers to bench Lacroix, right? So I might do Minte in for Paquetá because that lets me roll a transfer, or I might just roll 2 into game week 13. So that's game week 12. This is what my game week 13 team will look like if I do the Paquetá to Minte transfer. So I'll still have 2 free transfers in game week 13. I'll have Raya and Gabriel double up against Chelsea away, Van Dijk against West Ham away, Lacroix against Man United at home, Senesi against Sunderland away, so it's a 4-4-2, Saka Chelsea away, Fernandes Palace away, Semenyo Sunderland away, Minte Forest away, Mateta Man United at home, and Haaland Leeds at home, who everyone will have as captain. Now, that team in game week 13, there's not really anything majorly wrong with it. Is it the perfect team? Absolutely not. But I think if we forget about chips for a second, if that was a normal game week and I just had to manage the team through to 14, 15, 16, I'd be fine with that team. It's not perfect, but you're never going to have the perfect team every single week. You know, could Arsenal keep a clean sheet against Chelsea? Of course. Could Palace do well against Man United at home? Of course they could. Van Dijk against West Ham away is fine. Senesi and Semenyo, okay, that Sunderland away fixture looks a bit tougher than it would have done at the start of the season, but it's still okay. So it actually looks all right. But it could look better with a free hit. And obviously we do have a free hit to use. And the reason that I'm considering using it in game week 13 is, one, it has to be used by game week 19 anyway. But 2, if you look at my game week 14 team, and yes, I've done all the graphics for this, it looks really good again. So let's say, for argument's sake, and hopefully you're following along with this, let's say in game week 12, I don't do the Paquetá to Minte move and I just roll with a 5-3-2 and I free hit in game week 13, I will then have 3 free transfers in game week 14. Because I've got 2 now, I'd roll into 13, that gives me 3. I free hit, I've got 3 the other side. Okay? 3, 3, 3. Yeah, something like that. And the team in 14, and I've said this for a few weeks now, if your team looks good in 12, it will also look good in game week 14. So Raya, Gabriel, double up again against Brentford at home, and I've got Saka against Brentford at home. It's another 4-4-2, by the way. Van Dijk, Sunderland at home, Lacroix, Burnley away, Senesi, Everton at home. The midfield is Saka, like I just said. Fernandes against West Ham at home, maybe captaincy. If not, it would be Saka. Again, going against Haaland with Fulham away. Semenyo, Everton at home. Paquetá, Man United away. Mateta, Burnley away, and then Haaland, Fulham away. The bench, Dewsbury Hall, Anderson, Guillou is not that great. But I've got 3 free transfers to deal with Paquetá. So as long as Minte hasn't gone up in price to 6.2 by that point, which I don't think he will have, and bearing in mind game week 14 is a midweek fixture. So Minte, I don't think, is being that heavily bought this week. Let me just have a look. If I just find his name here. Yes, that is Minte. And go down to transfers in. Yeah, 20,000 transfers in. So he might go to 6.1 by the time we get to 12. I guess if he does really well in game week 12, people might mass buy him before game week 13. But I don't see him going past 6.2 million by game week 14. But it could happen. That's one of the reasons I'm tempted just to make the move this week. And obviously, if I did make the move in 12, I would just have this team in game week 14, but with 2 free transfers, and I'd have Minte already in place. So I could just roll into game week 15 with 3. So I think most people would agree that team looks pretty good. I've only got 1 Liverpool player against Sunderland, but honestly, as I spoke about in the early thoughts video already during the break, not that bothered about adding more. Szoboszlai could be nice, but again, am I going to use 2 free transfers to do it this week, especially when he's on 4 yellow cards? Probably not. So, team, in my opinion, looks really good in 12. It also looks really good in 14. It looks less good in 13. So maybe I free hit. Now, the other option is just to play through 12, 13, 14 and free hit later on. I'll tell you why I'm not the biggest fan of free hit in 15. One, it's not even the fact that I've already got Haaland, because I've already got Haaland for Leeds at home in 13 as well. Because actually, it's not a bad week to free hit. I think you'd make quite a lot of changes in game week 15. Like, a lot of people don't have Newcastle players right now. So you could get 3 for Burnley at home. If you wanted like Brighton players against West Ham, if you want triple up on Man City against Sunderland, there is reasons to go in 15. The reason that I don't personally like it is you've got to get all your transfers used before 16. So if you free hit in 15, it means you've got to get all your transfers used by game week 14 instead. Otherwise, you lose them. Now, if your team's absolutely perfect, of course you can burn transfers, but I don't think that's the best way to play it. So if I get to game week 14 with this team and Minte instead of Paquetá, and I've got to use 2 free transfers on it, then really all I'm going to do is upgrade the bench, maybe, for game week 16 onwards. I just think, personally for me, that's just too much of a headache. I'd rather get to 15 and then have to use all my transfers ahead of the top up than have to use them all in 14 just so I can hit in free hit in 15. So that might not sound like a logical reason not to use a free hit, but I don't see enough advantages in 15 to give myself the headache of having to use all my moves in 12, 13, 14. I personally think my team's well set up for 12 and 14. I don't want to make any major moves. They can wait until later on. And by the way, when we get to game week 15, like Bournemouth have got Chelsea at home. So that might not be a bad time to jump off Semenyo and Senesi. So maybe I can use a couple of my free transfers on that. So I think I've pretty much written off 12, the team looks good. I've written off 14, the team looks good. And I've written off game week 15. I don't mind free hitting game week 16. That's probably the only other week I'm really looking at. Because you get your 5 free transfers, you free hit. That means in game week 17, you'll still have the 5 frees. Reasons to free hit in 16. Liverpool, Brighton at home. If you're low on Liverpool players, you might want to bring in Salah as a differential captain, etc. Although, to be fair, Arsenal have got Wolves at home. So if you've got someone like Saka, you've already got a captain in place. Newcastle against Sunderland away, although that doesn't look as good as it once did. If you haven't got Brentford players, you could bring them in for Leeds at home. And also, I haven't got any Chelsea players, and they've got Everton at home. Like, imagine Cole Palmer's back by game week 16 and playing regularly. I mean, I might just want to bring him into my team, I get that. But if I don't, I could free hit him for 1 week only and go for like a Palmer-Salah draft with Saka and just get rid of Haaland completely for 1 week only, which could hurt, of course. But any week you free hit could hurt because you're just taking single game week players out for other single game week players. What this would also allow me to do as a Saka owner, because Saka's pretty good right now, I'm quite happy with him. But post game week 16, once they get past Wolves at home, the fixtures are not terrible for Arsenal. But Everton away, Brighton at home, Villa at home, Bournemouth away, Liverpool at home doesn't scream loads of captaincy to me. And then it's Forest away, Man United at home, etc. So I think Saka's still a good long-term hold, but he wouldn't be as interesting as he is right now, in my opinion, because the captaincy opportunities would go down a bit. So if I was going to free hit in 16, that would allow me to sell Saka before 16 because I know that I could get him back in for Wolves at home on free hit and just captain him. And I don't have triple captain or anything to worry about. I only have the free hit. But again, is being able to sell Saka, at some point over the next few weeks when he's got Spurs at home, Chelsea away, Brentford at home, Villa away, Wolves at home, is it that important to sell him? Not really. So I quite like 16 and I will continue to look at it. But it's that or 13 for me. 12, 14, 15 are out. 17, I mean, you get to sell your Bournemouth players, then bring them back in for Burnley at home. You can go triple Man City against West Ham at home. But honestly, outside of that, Arsenal are away to Everton, Spurs and Liverpool are playing each other, Man United are away to Villa. I don't see many advantages to 17. And honestly, I don't want to leave it later than that, 18 or 19. I just don't want to. I'd rather just get it used now. So I am strongly considering free hitting this team in game week 13. I will probably take out all my Arsenal players against Chelsea away. Could that backfire? Yes. I will probably take out most of my... even if I buy Sarr this week, I'd probably take him out on free hit 13. Could that backfire? Could Crystal Palace do really well against Man United at home? Of course they could. In fact, I'll just show you the free hit team, right? So this is the Game Week 13 team if I make the Minte move. I did promise this was going to be a bit of a ramble. And this is a potential free hit 13 team. Now, I love FPL. I think about it a lot. I've already gone through the planner on the My Team tool on Hub and looked at what moves I can make in Game Week 15, 16, 17, etc. So I do like thinking about it, but I don't like making too many decisions ahead of time. So this is not locked in, of course, right? We're only going into Game Week 12. It's the first week of the international break. But it's kind of what you could do. So triple Villa against Wolves at home, triple Brentford against Burnley at home, and then triple Man City against Leeds at home. That is probably what I would look at, and then you just fill in the blanks. One reason I quite like this is because you can get Salah and Haaland. Now, I've already got Haaland, so it does feel wrong to free hit in a week where I already own him. But if I free hit in one of the weeks where he's got a weaker fixture, my team already looks good. Like I've said, 12 and 14. It would basically, if you go back to my Game Week 12 team, right, or my Game Week 14 team, where arguably Haaland's got a slightly worse fixture, I'd basically be free hitting just to get Salah. Whereas I'm more than happy just to captain Saka or Fernandes instead. I don't think it's worth 4 free transfers to sell Haaland to Salah to get him back just to have him in for captaincy when I can just captain Saka if I want to against Spurs at home, Brentford at home. So one of the things I like about 13 is I still get Saka for a good fixture, which is West Ham away. So him and Haaland would be in. One thing to note about Game Week 13, if I just bring it up here on the FPL site, there's no early kickoff on Saturday. The games start at 3 o'clock, so the deadline is 1:30 UK time. Man City are one of the games at 3 o'clock, so there is potential that we could get leaks. Now, it's worth saying we don't get many team leaks these days, and I wouldn't pin all your hopes on getting them. But if we do get some of the team news for Man City, that will obviously make putting the free hit together. You might have to be agile and be able to make decisions on the move. Okay, this player's not starting, this one is. How does that affect the team? But it could be quite nice. So the 3 City I've gone for are Haaland, Foden. Foden keeps playing regular minutes, and then Nico O'Reilly in defence. Now, he'd obviously be one I'd be slightly worried about. If we get no team leaks, or there's a chance that Aït-Nouri's going to play, I would probably just go for a defender from a different team. Maybe even try and work Van Dijk in there and keep him, and then just get Donnarumma in goal. Because right now I've got Martinez and Cash as my 2 Villa defenders against Wolves at home. But it could easily be Donnarumma and Luka Dean, or Donnarumma and Konza, or just Donnarumma and a player from a different team. It doesn't have to be Aston Villa. The 3 Brentford players, Thiago, of course, Sharda, because you know he's always going to start, and then Collins in defence, because he's probably the best option from that defence for defensive contributions. I also like Utara. The only thing with Utara is if they play a back 3, then he doesn't play, but they're not going to play a back 3 against Burnley, are they? Surely not. So you could even go triple attack if you wanted to. I guess the problem is I kind of like Mateta against Man United at home. I think if I was going to mix this up to add in like another Liverpool player, for example, like if I wanted to go, like if Szoboszlai wasn't suspended, I could go for him against West Ham away. If I thought Gakpo was going to start, I could go for him. I think I would drop Mateta and either go 3-5-2 or 4-4-2. And then maybe add a different defender instead of going for Gakpo or Szoboszlai or something like that. Like even a Wirtz. If we knew Wirtz was starting for whatever reason, I'd be tempted to free hit, even though he's been terrible. I probably wouldn't want to go there, don't get me wrong, but that's the options. But I don't want to spend too much time on the specifics of this free hit team because it will change, right? I don't know if Morgan Rogers is someone I would definitely want, but this is the kind of setup you can have. And people will say, honestly, they'll look at my Game Week 13 team and they will say that could outscore my free hit team. I fully agree. But honestly, when you start, I don't know if people have put as much thought into this free hit as I have, but I'm telling you, and I mean looking at different weeks, I'm telling you now, whichever week you use it, it could be a disaster. Now, I haven't done the graphics for my Game Week 16 team, but I've looked at free hit that week. My Game Week 16 team will look fine. So it could be a disaster because I'll take out some players that are good. Like, all jokes aside, Bruno Fernandes against Palace away, could he outscore Morgan Rogers against Wolves at home? Of course he could. All it takes is for him to get a penalty. He could play terrible against Palace away. Man United get a penalty. Rogers blanks. Job done. You know, we might get news that Foden starts. Maybe this is the game where he gets brought off early because they got another game midweek again in Game Week 14. I bring Salah in. Could Saka outscore him against Chelsea? Well, I mean, if I was putting money on it, obviously I would go for Salah against West Ham rather than Saka against Chelsea. It's possible. Arsenal could keep a clean sheet. And by the way, free hitting Arsenal out sounds horrible in some ways because everybody owns them. And not everybody's going to free hit in game week 13. So Gabriel getting a clean sheet and a goal, and everyone on double Arsenal defence, it's going to be pain. But as I said, every week is like that because we're not free hitting into blanks and doubles. We're free hitting 11 players out with one game for 11 different players for one game. And as we've seen over the last few weeks, people with Enzo Fernandez with good fixtures, Sarr with good fixtures, they can blank in good fixtures. And players who are worse, like I've had Dewsbury Hall, for example, he done really well. Like these things happen. So I've got to use it at some point. 12, 14, 15 are out. So it's really 13, 16. I don't want to leave it any longer. And to be honest, I've thought about free hit 13 for weeks now. I'm not trying to pretend I'm the first person that's thought of it because of course I'm not. But I'm telling you now, there's going to be a uptick in people looking at free hit 13 over the next few weeks because now people have seen their team in 12. They'll also realise it's good in 14. It's just that week in between. And I would change a lot of players. Like this free hit team I've come up with here, which by the way I put together in probably less than 5 minutes. I would spend a bit more time when we get to game week 13 thinking about it. The only 2 players that are in this team that I already own are Mateta and Haaland. 9 other players I don't have. And look, people could say Thiago's just a good player to bring in, but actually I quite like free hit 13 because I get him for Burnley and I dodge him for the 3 away games outside of that, Brighton, Spurs and Arsenal. And then I can come back to him in game week 16 if I want to. So look, I'm not free hitting just because of Thiago, obviously. But I think it kind of works. And it's just, without rambling on about this too much, it's just a weird situation right now where if you'd asked me at the start of the season and told me that I'd own Haaland for 13, 15, 17 good fixtures, I'd be telling you absolutely I'd be free hitting in 12 or 14 to get Salah for captaincy. But I just don't need it because the team just looks good in 12 and the team just looks good in 14. And I'm more than happy to captain Saka or maybe Bruno in game week 14. So, yeah, I think my early plans are roll or buy Minte. I don't think I'm going to use 2 free transfers just to bench Lacroix. And then I can get to game week 13. I mean, rolling into 13 and then deciding is also an option. Because if I do that, my game week 13 team will basically be this, but with Paquetá instead of Minte. And then 3 free transfers. If I want to deal with stuff, I can. So I think rolling might even be the best option because it lets me delay the free hit if I want to. But in some ways, I kind of want to just make a decision that I'm definitely going to free hit that week and just hope it goes well. And like I said, could be a disaster. Anyway, I'm definitely rambling on more than I've been rambling this whole video. That, by the way, one take, so no breaks, no cuts, but also first time I recorded that. I've just clicked record, I've recorded that, and I've done it without having to stop once. And I've got a sore throat, so I thought that was going to be a problem. And honestly, I never do 20 minutes in one go. Usually I mess up a few times and I have to re-record. Delighted with that. Absolutely delighted. One take, one continuous talking. And okay, maybe I could have been a bit more concise if I scripted my videos and stuff like that, but I don't want to do that. I don't like scripting. I like just talking to the camera. So I'm delighted. That's made my day. One take, load of ramble, probably a load of nonsense. I'm probably going to roll them free hit 13 or buy Minte and free hit 13. Hopefully that all makes sense. If you enjoyed it, make sure to give it a like, hit that subscribe button, and I might catch you tomorrow for one more video until I take a proper break over the international break. And then I'll definitely be back next week with the regular content. I'll see you then.